We light this chalice, symbol of Unitarian Universalism. May it remind us of the divine spark in all of creation, the power of love to heal what is broken, and to be grateful for life's blessings each day. And our Black Lives Matter candle. We light this candle in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement and work for the day in which Black lives are treated equitably and with dignity and justice. This morning, we're really glad to have each and every one of you with us. We are an intentionally multi-generational, multicultural, anti-racist, justice-seeking spiritual community here in the heart of downtown Oakland. Although things have changed because of the pandemic, we remain a connected community committed to shared values. This morning, we're happy to welcome with us Reverend Mykal Slack, who is the community minister for worship and pastoral care with Black Lives of UU. We'll also have with us Reverend Amy Beltane and Stefan Schneider leading us in music. We thank Naomi de Guzman for support with worship today as well. Next, we'll be singing together. As you know, with Zoom, what we do is sing each in our respective places. So, please make sure that you're muted, and then we'll begin.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises, sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandfather's prayer. We are our grandfather's dreaming. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the spirit of God. We are of time, daughters of dust and sons of great vision, workers of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life and builders of nations. We're seekers of truth, keepers of faith, makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are another's prayer. We are our grandfather's dreaming. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises, sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
Great. Thank you for being patient.
We can hear you, yay!
I was going to ask you to unmute yourself anyway, so that's your next job. Unmute yourself. Get ready to say hi. Are you unmuted? Are you ready? You can turn on your video. Time for hellos.
Hello.
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 Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hi, Brian.
Got on, everybody.
Good morning.
I see you, Marcy.
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Lovely.
Good morning, everyone.
MJ.
It's great to see you.
Hi, Jane.
How's
Hi,
everyone?
Hillary.
Good morning, you.
Hi, Amy.
Good
morning.
You'll never stop now.
Hi, Mary.
Hello, everyone.
It's wonderful to see everyone. Does do breakout rooms?
Oh, there's Mary. Boo boo. Let's say hi.
Judith, your hair looks great.
Yeah.
Marcy.
Yeah. Look who's there.
Whoops.
Who's that? Okay.
Fido Logler.
Okay, I guess we're good.
Mary, I like your background.
Oh, Claudine.
Hey, Claudine.
Sweetie.
Gary Facente. Carlson.
All right. Well, it was great to see and hear everyone. Good job on your readings, of course. It's one of the things you're really good at. And right now, I'd like us to get ready for the wisdom story. I can be anything I want, and don't you tell me I can't. Are you ready? Okay.
Hey everyone, I am very excited to share with you our story for all ages. And that is going to be a book that is one of my favorites, and it is also one of my 4-year-old's favorite books. It is called I Can Be Anything, Don't Tell Me I Can't, by Diane Dillon. It's a great book. Beautiful illustrations. And it is relevant to our theme today. Let's get started. I can be anything I want to be. Zoe stretched her arms and spun around. That's worth a spin. I'm a bird. I can fly way up high, floating on the wind. What if you fall? Said a little voice. I won't fall. Birds have wings. If my wings get tired, I can fly in a rocket ship to a faraway planet. I'll meet planet people and have a tea party before I come home. What if you can't get home? Asked the voice. Zoe ignored the voice. I can be an archaeologist and travel around the world and dig up dinosaur bones and buried treasure. What if you get homesick? You're too little, said the voice. No, I'm not. I'm bigger than you. Maybe I'll be a scientist and discover things. Or I'll be an inventor and build a robot that will talk louder than you, so I won't hear you. The voice was quiet for a while. I'll be a veterinarian and help wild animals like tigers and bears and dragons, and I'll give them medicine to make them well, and I'll bandage their hurts. What if they bite you? Said the voice. I'll be so gentle they won't bite me. They will know I am helping them. Oh, I know. I'll be a fire girl and rescue people. I'll drive a big fire engine with a loud siren that goes wee-oo, wee-oo, and rescue a kitty stuck in a tree. You can't drive a fire engine. That's silly, said the voice. That's not silly. I can be anything I want to be, and don't tell me I can't. I'll be an artist and paint pictures, and a museum will hang them up so people can see them. What if you don't have any talent? Said the voice. Everybody has talent for something. How many of us need to hear that? Everybody has talent for something, and so do I. Besides, I'm smart. I can do anything if I try hard enough, and you won't stop me. I can even be an ornithologist who studies birds, or an oceanographer who explores the ocean. Or I can be a musician and give concerts all around the world. I can even be president if I want to be. You're just a voice. I don't have to listen to you. I love the little sign that says, "Vote for Zoe." But I'm always with you, you know, said the voice, no matter what you do. You better be quiet, or I'll be an alligator and eat you up, said Zoe. The voice didn't have an answer to that. It was silent again. I can be an astronomer and study the stars with a big telescope and discover new planets. I'll be a famous chef and bake fancy cakes as tall as I am, and I'll write a book about my recipes. You can't write, the voice came back. But I'm going to learn how to write in school. Maybe I'll be a teacher and teach other kids how to write. Or I'll be a librarian and have a zillion books to share with everyone. You don't know what you want to be, do you? Said the voice. Go away, voice. I won't listen to you. I'm not grown up yet. I can be anything. And I might even add, even when you're grown up, you can be anything. But first, I have to learn to read and read and read. And I'll read books about all the things I can be. Don't tell me I can't. This little one's imagination is stunning and bright and brilliant and beautiful. But perhaps even more bright and brilliant and beautiful than her imagination is her sense of possibility. Anything is possible if we give our whole selves to it. What if we all really believed that every single day that we have breath? I can be anything. Don't tell me I can't. Amen. Ashe, and blessed be.
Thank you so much, Reverend Michael. It's a good word, huh? I'd like to add to that the reading Reverend Michael has provided from Charlene Carruthers from her book Unapologetic, a Black Queer Feminist Mandate for Radical Movement. Ms. Carruthers says, there are always forces, sometimes even within a social justice movement, that fight to kill the imagination of those actively engaged in the struggle. And for that matter, to limit all thinking about radical possibilities. But oppressed people have always imagined that freedom is possible, and our imagination will not be vanquished. The Black radical tradition invites us into an ongoing and persistent cultivation of the radical imagination. It is within the spaces of imagination, the dream spaces, that liberatory practices are born and grow, leading to the space to act and transform. I have just a few thoughts this morning that I need to share with you. The first is this. I am really excited for us to have this moment to lean into possibilities of transformation and of disruption with Reverend Michael. I know that this pandemic has represented for you an immense disruption of everything you understood as your routine and as your present and future. When I think about that, the community needs or the pastoral needs that arise from that particular experience, the words of Octavia Butler continue to return. All that you touch, you change. All that you change touches you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. Friends, over this time we've had to change a lot. And what we know for sure is that the change isn't over. So, even as we change to better, we'll need to stick together. One opportunity to do so is this, a notice of the annual meeting of the congregation, September 20th at 10:30 a.m. The Board of Trustees is convening the annual meeting rescheduled from March 15th due to the closure of the church. The meeting will include an election of new members of the Board of Trustees and gratitude and farewell to outgoing members. A State of the Church address by Reverend Soto, that's me. An update on church programs and any personnel changes. A review of the adjusted revised 2020 budget. An explanation of year-round stewardship, a change from our traditional model. And the joy in being together and renewing our commitment to our mission, even as we worship, play, and work remotely. In order to vote at any business meeting of the church, one must be a member and must make a pledge for the current church year. If you are uncertain whether you are eligible to vote, please email Jane Vicente. Please plan to attend. We want to see you and we want to keep you informed, and we need a quorum to be able to vote and make decisions that are legal. And a postscript, there are 2 open positions on the board, and if you'd like to try on board service and fill in a 6-month position, please contact Brenda. The very last thing, this week I've started talking to folks in our congregation, one-on-one, or one-on family, how that goes, about 3 questions in 3 minutes. Here are the 3 questions. How's your pandemic? What's your experience? That's the same question, different phraseology. The second one, what do you want me to know about your experience with First Unitarian Church of Oakland? I haven't heard from everyone, and I would definitely like to. what do you want me to know about your experience? The third question, what do you want me to know about you? So if I've left you a message and you want to have that chat, please do call me back. If you haven't gotten my call yet, you sure will. Let's continue to have that conversation. And that's everything for now. We'll be able to have a choir video next. So grateful for those choir videos. Thank you, Stefan, and all the people in the video. You know who you are. The next thing we'd like to do is spend some time sharing what's on our hearts. So we call that embracing meditation. What we mean is that in just a moment, when you hear a bell, I'll invite you to say a word or a phrase about people or events or places that are on your heart. We are lifting up people currently Charles Mansden and Kim Tetlow lost their mother on September 4th. She died peacefully, surrounded by family.
Still alive.
We're holding Charles and Kim in our care in their time of loss. Gogi Hodder, Kira and Rana are both struggling with cancer. We send them our love and care in this time. Clark Sanford had a medical procedure this week. He was going to be home recovering comfortably. Everything went well. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for Clark. Emily Ransom continues to journey and would welcome your cards, especially since you can't have visitors in this time. She can take calls on her cell phone, so if you're able to reach out to her that way, that's welcome as well if she's available. Annette Williams lost her father-in-law this week, and he was a renowned organ transplant specialist, and his family will really miss him. We're holding in our hearts Margaret Woodside, and she moves to hospice during this time. Cards for Margaret would be welcome as well. And we're thinking of Katrinka Ford, who's lost her sibling, and just hold her and her family in her care in this time of loss. We're grateful for Claudine Tong recovering from COVID-19, getting back to where she would like to be. Yeah, and she's all better now, so we're grateful for that.
Oh, great.
And grateful for her continued connection with our community. We're also holding Kenosha and Portland in our care as they experience frontline effects of the war on citizenry and attacks on Black lives. We especially think of college students returning to school, some of them even in person at this time. We hold them and their families in our care. Please go ahead and unmute yourself and mention what you're holding in our care. In a moment, you'll hear a bell. Then take a breath and begin.
Valerie's family died suddenly last week. My friend Andrea Malave, she has 2 small children that are 3 and 4. She has an amputated leg and she's in the hospital on dialysis and she needs to get better.
Nina and Neil.
My nephew Joe.
All of us living in the smoke and the heat, with disease outside and our democracy under attack, and the will that we will survive and make it better.
Yes.
Amen, sister.
Yes.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah.
Is she in the hospital again?
She's getting treated.
My cousin Miriam has rapid onset Parkinson's, and my cousin Donald Bong, who's dying of lung cancer.
Hillary mentions her neighbor Sue, who's resting during the last days on this earth, surrounded by her caregivers.
RBG is having cancer.
A longtime friend, David, who just passed of COVID.
People of Lebanon.
I just heard from Julie Bader that Margaret Woodside passed last night.
We're definitely holding them in our care. Let's go ahead and take a moment to say that, and we're in our respective places.
The people of Rochester,
And put that in the chat.
We hold them in our care.
We hold them
We
in our
hold
care.
them in our care.
In our care.
We hold them in our care.
We hold them in our care.
Dear Margaret.
Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. I would like to invite us to breathe together for just a moment as we continue to hold in our hearts and minds and spirits and bodies all the lives of those who we may know and those who we may not know. Folks are in the midst of so much right now. And so I just want us to hold just a moment of silence together as we think about all of those folks. And as we move out of the silence, I'm going to actually sing a prayer for us. And so I would just invite you to continue to hold that space as I sing. And I may do it twice through in case folks aren't able to, in case folks aren't able to take it all in the first time. May I be light in you. May you be light in me. Into our hearts, into our souls, let love abide. May I be loved in you. May you be loved in me. From this space out to the world for all time. May I be light in you. May you be light in me. Into our hearts, into our souls, let love abide. May you be loved in me. May I be loved in you. From this space out to the world for all time. In the name of all that is precious and sacred and holy, we give thanks for this space, for these spaces, for the miles that are between us, that they can be shrunk down to a moment where we can gather together here. My prayer in this moment is that we can be settled enough in the midst of so much that is happening, in the midst of so much loss and grief, that we're able to settle into this moment in time, learn together, that we might grow together. May we allow ourselves to lay all that is holding us back. May we lay those things down and be fully present for ourselves and for one another here. May it be so. Ashe. Amen. And blessed be. I wanted to send greetings to you from Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism, an organizing collective and growing spiritual family whose primary work and ministry is to support, resource, and enliven the power and capacity of Black UUs all across the country and the world. And I also send greetings from my new home here in Georgia. Some of you may know I just moved from Durham, North Carolina to East Point, Georgia. I'm actually in my mother's home here in Decatur. And Georgia is a place where all of my family of origin is from, and many folks who are part of my chosen family have remained since I left. So I've been really grateful to come back to a good deal of familiarity, and also really excited to build beautiful and caring community here. I'm grateful for all these communities every day, and I'm honored to be among you here in this virtual and altogether holy space. It is a great gift that we have these platforms, that we can come together across miles and across experiences. Thank you. Thank you again, Reverend Theresa, for inviting me, and to everyone for having me here. In my discernment about being with you today, I was reminded of someone named Marva Dolores Collins. I wonder if anyone is familiar with her or knows who she is. Miss Collins was an educator. She was born in the South, who made her way to Chicago, where she was a substitute teacher for 14 years, noticing the low levels of learning that some students were experiencing in particular areas. Collins took $5,000, which in 1975 was a fairly large sum of money, from her own teacher's retirement fund, and started a private school in the top floors of a brownstone in the West Garfield Park neighborhood where she lived. The school she started was called West Side Preparatory School. Now, West Side Prep was educationally and commercially successful for many years. Collins and her daughter ran the school for more than 30 years until it closed in 2008. But the school's success is not really the point of this story. Collins was a Black woman teacher in Chicago in the mid-1970s, but she built a low-cost private school specifically for the purpose of teaching low-income Black children whom Collins felt that the Chicago public school system had failed. Where others had concluded that the students of West Side Prep were unteachable, Collins was so convinced that these students could thrive that she determined to ensure their flourishing. How many people do you think told Ms. Collins that she couldn't or shouldn't attempt to open a school? How many banks must have turned her away for a loan before she decided to use her own money? Or did she not even bother? How many colleagues, even family members and friends, might have discouraged her? I'm imagining plenty on all accounts, right? But she did it anyway. She too, in her own way, climbed up onto, there's a story in Luke, in the gospel according to Luke, in the scriptures that talk about folks who climbed up onto a roof with their friend who needed a healing. I imagine Ms. Collins sort of proverbially climbed up onto the roof when the crowd was too big and made her way down. She figured out a way. And the motivation to move on this beautiful idea of hers, this calling on her life, was the very lie that fueled others' discouragement. The too often believed and equally misguided notion that nothing can be done, so why bother? At a moment in our nation's story when mass shootings and state-sanctioned violence are on the rise every year, and where the impact of a global pandemic on the health and well-being of our children and adults is held in the balance as as schools are reopening, have reopened, we have a responsibility, I believe, as humans, to understand how to move beyond the scarcity thinking of nothing can be done. Because we need each other more than that notion allows us to have. We need all of us to not only survive, but to thrive. And sometimes the only way to know that we can count on one another in the ways it matters most is to show up in the most unusual, most uncomfortable, and most unwieldy ways. In an ongoing exploration on my part of what this shift really requires of us, the word that has consistently shown up in my spirit is disruption. I know all of us are unmuted, but say that word with me. Disruption. Disruption. Merriam-Webster defines disruption as, quote unquote, to break apart or rupture, or to throw into disorder, or to interrupt the normal course of a thing. It never occurred to me in my life that I would ever need to quote anyone from Forbes magazine, but interestingly enough, there was a staff writer there named Caroline Howard who wrote about disruption in a business context and offered an exploration that has meaning here. She wrote, "Disruption takes a left turn by literally uprooting and changing how we think, behave, do business, learn, and go about our day-to-day. Disruption produces something new and more efficient and worthwhile." She goes on to say it is at once destructive and creative. What would it mean if we interrupted the everyday course of things, even just a little more often? What would it mean for us to really show up for ourselves and one another and be in opposition to systems and people and relationships that do harm? What would it mean for us to say no more in moments when it's really needed, like Ms. Collins did back in 1975? It would mean rupturing sometimes a little bit at a time and sometimes in great waves, systems and mindsets that are harmful and that operate to ensure that we don't have what we all need to simply be our whole human selves. Maybe that rupture happens when congregants of Citywell United Methodist Church in Durham, for example, and community members surrounded an ICE truck, an ICE van for 3 hours in an attempt to keep their beloved Samuel from being deported after living in North Carolina for over 2 decades. Or maybe it's when thousands of people come together all across the country over months and years to help shift the narrative that the only way to respond to and resolve issues in community is by calling the police. Or maybe it's when I remind myself on a really hard day that my worth is not tied to how much I produce, and then I choose not to work, but to rest and do things to build my body and spirits back up. Or maybe it's in the ordinary course of things, when you say the thing that you know will unravel everyone around you, knowing that it will not only save your heart and soul, but will serve as a beginning to undoing what has been hurting entire communities or movements for generations. This is why allyship, in the ways many of us understand it, can sometimes fall flat, right? Because it's one thing to express love and care, but to do that from a distance. It's one thing to proclaim support, but to only offer it in ways that make the most sense to you. And it is another thing entirely to be right alongside one another, being willing to take what comes as if it was meant for you too. We have a call as Unitarian Universalists to infuse the meaningfulness and I would argue the hopefulness of disruption into who we are and what we do in this world as it is, if we in fact are committed to this world being different and better for all of us. If meaningful change locally and in this country is what we seek, breaking through to the other side of lies we've been taught, what we've been told is the only way to do a thing, and what we've grown comfortable with is perhaps how we find it. Let me say that again. If meaningful change locally and in this country is what we seek, breaking through to the other side of lies we've been taught, what we've been told is the only way to do a thing, and what we've grown comfortable with is perhaps how we find it. I'm not going to lie here and suggest that this is pretty or easy work. It is neither. But we're not living it if we're not practicing it. What good does a recitation of our 7 principles bring if we have no idea how to, or have no interest in actually living them out in our day-to-day lives? And living them out calls for some disruption. And in the process of peeling back layer upon layer upon layer of conformity and complacency, we're not going to just transform communities and systems. We are going to be made new in the process. We're going to discover something about ourselves that moves us toward a wholeness we may have never known before. And most importantly, it's going to change how connected we are and can be to one another. This work of disruption is a prayer. It's an intention, a critical path forward, and a deep analysis about where we've been and where we need to go. It's also a recognition that in our present day context, with the world right now as it is, disruption is devotion. Devotion to spirit, to faith, to connection. Disruption is care. Deep and intentional care for self and for community. Disruption is mindfulness. Mindfulness of everything that makes each of us whole and fully present and alive. And disruption is solidarity and comradeship. When we are in relationship long enough that I might already know what you need because I've already been there with you. And it begins with me, with you, with all of us. The only way to liberation for all people is to embody a transformational Unitarian Universalism. That is, to be willing to interrupt the usual course of things and be open to the changes that building a new way may bring to your heart, your body, your mind, and your spirit. What sacred moment will be unearthed by you? What will you uproot or call into question? What dreams will you carve out of the clay, muscle into something solid and something true? These are the questions to consider and respond to if a mature faith is what we strive for. It's certainly my hope and my prayer that we can live into all of this as individuals and as communities as we go forth. Amen. Ashe. And blessed be.
Thank you so much, Reverend Mykal, for that good word. I look forward to how we'll unfold it and practice it in the weeks that come. In just a moment, we'll have an invitation to generosity from Alex Hayter-Windnet. It's pre-recorded. He is our Director of Faith Development for this year in an interim position, and we're really glad to have him, and he recorded this message for you.
Hi folks, my name is Alex Hader-Winnett and I am your Interim Director of Religious Education. And now is the time when we talk about generosity. Generosity as a way to support and sustain our community of faith. Generosity as a time of spiritual practice and appreciation. I have a reading, it's from one of my favorite cookbooks. It's called Roughage. And this one is from the chapter on summer squash. 3 things come to mind when I think of zucchini. 1, the old saying that summer squash season is the only time of the year when residents of small towns lock their car doors for fear of the vegetable being left on their front seat by a gardening neighbor. 2, after receiving our first big delivery of zucchini from the farmer's market, my good friend Roger looked at me saying, nature's styrofoam, and then walked away. 3, how when we were growing up, we used to have these monstrous large zucchini as bats in tomato baseball. Having your sister throw rotten tomatoes at you only to smash it with a giant zucchini is to this day far and away the most fun I've ever had with garden produce. Friends, this is a time when everything feels scarce, when the voices of anxiety nag us, saying that there's never enough time, never enough resources, never enough energy. Whether it's trying to balance work, or school, or your children's school, or the heat, or the smoke, or whatever, it seems like there's never enough. But what there's always enough of is community. And we support our community by showing up, by sharing our time, our talents, and our treasure. So this is the time when we share our generosity as a spiritual practice of recognizing all that we have received in abundance and all that we give to aid in that abundance. So however much you are willing and able to give to continue sustaining this community through the pandemic and beyond, so that we can continue to care for each other, I say thank you for your gratitude, thank you for your appreciation, and thank you for your generosity. And now we will offer directions on how to give from the church website. All my blessings to you this week and every week. A very happy Labor Day, and much love until we meet again.
Alex mentioned the church website. If you go there, you'll see a giving link at the top menu. You can designate your gift as a pledge or anything else you would like to give to. We also can take a text gift through Give Plus and the Give Plus app. And for people who love the Postal Service, we're still checking our mail. We can receive your check with gratitude and put it in the right spot. That's what you need to know about that.
I say just a few words about our benediction that is on the way. Go now in peace. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in mindless oblivion. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go without challenging yourself or others. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in utter ease and comfort. When I say go in peace, I mean go in peace seeking justice. I mean go in peace committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. When I say go in peace, I mean Go in the peace that is created when, together, we build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love. Go in peace.
Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may.
All right. Thank you so much. Everyone, I would like you to go now in peace. You're invited to stay for coffee hour, and also we are having First Sunday activities, which we invite you to as well. First Sunday is when we take a close look at how we're practicing anti-racism and anti-oppression. Today, Reverend Mykal will be with us in caucus time, and then we will have a supported caucus for people of dominant culture. So if you'd like to join us in that work, we extend you a warm invitation. Thank you for being here with us today, and it was good to be together.